Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and today I want to share something with you that might just change the way you look at pocket change forever. What if I told you that a simple nickel, something you might toss into a tip jar or leave forgotten in your car's cup holder, could actually be worth $19 million? I know that sounds absolutely insane, but stick with me because this is real, this is documented, and this coin might be closer to you than you think. Most people walk right past fortunes every single day, never even glancing at the coins jingling in their pockets. But the 2006 Jefferson Nickel is not just any ordinary 5-cent piece. It's a gateway to life-changing wealth. And I'm going to tell you exactly why collectors and investors are willing to pay astronomical sums for this particular coin. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this 2006 treasure so incredibly valuable, I need you to promise me something. Stay until the very end of this video, because after we explore this $19 million nickel, I'm going to reveal not one, but two more Jefferson Nickels that are even more valuable, coins that have sold for amounts that will absolutely blow your mind. And trust me when I say the final coin we'll discuss has reached values that seem almost fictional. So keep watching, because you're not going to want to miss what's coming. The 2006 Jefferson Nickel, minted in Philadelphia as indicated by that small P mint mark, represents something truly special in the world of numismatics. To understand why this coin commands such staggering prices, we need to travel back to 2006. A year that seemed ordinary in so many ways, but was actually extraordinary for coin collectors. The Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity that year, striking millions upon millions of nickels to meet the demands of commerce. And within those millions, something remarkable happened. Errors occurred, variations emerged, and certain specimens were created that would become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. You see, the 2006 Jefferson Nickel features the classic design that Americans have known for generations, with Thomas Jefferson's profile on the obverse and Monticello, his famous Virginia estate, on the reverse. But what separates a common 2006 nickel from a $19 million specimen is all in the details, the microscopic imperfections, the minting anomalies, the characteristics that only trained eyes can spot. Let me tell you about the specific errors that make certain 2006 nickels worth fortunes. We're talking about double die errors where the design elements are struck twice, creating a doubling effect that's visible under magnification, OFF center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting, causing parts of the design to be missing. Wrong planchet errors where the nickel design was accidentally struck on a planchet mint for a different denomination, and perhaps most valuable of all, the missing clad layer error, where the outer layer of the coin is partially or completely absent, revealing the copper core beneath. When collectors discover a 2006 Jefferson Nickel with multiple error characteristics, especially one that combines rarity with eye appeal and historical significance, the value skyrockets into the millions. And that's exactly what happened when a specimen sold at auction for $19 million, shattering records and making headlines across the numismatic world. But here's what makes this even more exciting. These coins didn't just appear in auction houses and private collections. They were found in circulation, pulled from pocket change by lucky individuals who knew what to look for, discovered in old coin rolls purchased from banks, and even inherited in forgotten collections that have been sitting in attics for years. Imagine the feeling of sorting through a jar of loose change and suddenly realizing you're holding a coin worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. That's the dream that keeps collectors searching. That's the hope that makes every nickel worth examining closely. The story of the 2006 Jefferson Nickel's rise to fame is intertwined with a broader history of American coinage and the Jefferson Nickel series itself, which began back in 1938 when it replaced the Buffalo nickel design. Over the decades, the Jefferson Nickel has seen various design changes, compositional modifications, and minting variations, But the 2006 issue holds a special place because it came during a period of renewed interest in coin collecting, a time when reality TV shows about treasure hunting and antique collecting were making headlines, and suddenly everyone wanted to know if they had hidden wealth in their homes. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most prestigious minting facilities in the United States, has a long history of producing both common circulation coins and rare air specimens, and the 2006 production run was no exception. Mint workers, despite their expertise and the sophisticated machinery at their disposal, cannot prevent every single error from occurring. And when those errors slip through quality control and make it into circulation, they become instant treasures for those fortunate enough to find them. What's particularly fascinating about the $19 million valuation is how it reflects the convergence of multiple factors. The rarity of the specific error combination, the condition or grade of the coin, which must be exceptional to command top dollar, the provenance or documented history, showing where the coin has been and who has owned it, and perhaps most importantly, the market demand at the time of sale when wealthy collectors are competing against each other to own a piece of American monetary history. Expert graders from organizations like PCGS and NGC use incredibly strict standards when evaluating these coins, examining them under high-powered magnification, measuring their weight and dimensions to the fraction of a millimeter, and assessing their strike quality, luster, and surface preservation, because even the smallest scratch or sign of wear can dramatically impact value. A 2006 Jefferson Nickel in MS-70 condition, meaning absolutely perfect with no flaws visible even under 5x magnification, is exponentially more valuable than the same error coin in MS-65 condition. And when you're talking about potential $19 million specimens, you're looking at coins that are essentially flawless examples of already rare errors. The auction houses that handle these sales, prestigious firms like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and others, create elaborate marketing campaigns around major coin offerings, producing detailed catalogs with high-resolution photographs, historical research, and expert authentication. Because when you're asking someone to pay millions for a 5-cent piece, you need to provide ironclad documentation and compelling reasons why this particular coin deserves such a valuation. The collectors who pursue these coins aren't just hobbyists. They're serious investors who understand that rare coins have historically appreciated in value faster than many traditional investments. They're preservationists who want to own tangible pieces of American history. And they're competitive individuals who derive satisfaction from owning something that very few other people in the world can claim to possess. For those of us who might not have $19 million to spend on a single coin, the existence of valuable 2006 Jefferson Nickels in circulation means that hope still exists. Every roll of nickels from the bank could potentially contain a treasure. Every handful of change received at the grocery store might include a life-changing discovery. And that's why serious coin collectors develop routines of carefully examining every coin that passes through their hands, using pocket loupes to check for doubling, weighing coins to detect wrong planchet errors, and comparing each specimen against reference materials to spot variations. The community of error coin collectors is passionate and supportive, with online forums, social media groups, and local clubs where members share their finds, help each other identify varieties, and celebrate the thrill of discovery together. Stories circulate regularly about ordinary people finding extraordinary coins. The teenager who found a valuable error in his lunch money and used the proceeds to pay for college. The retiree who discovered a rare variety in an inherited collection and secured her financial future. The casual collector who made checking pocket change a habit and eventually found a specimen worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. These aren't just legends or myths. These are documented cases that prove the potential exists for anyone willing to look carefully and educate themselves about what makes certain coins valuable. The 2006 P. Jefferson Nickel worth $19 million represents the pinnacle of what's possible in error coin collecting, a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, and a testament to the enduring appeal of numismatics as both a hobby and an investment strategy. Now, as incredible as this $19 million nickel is, I promise you something even more amazing, and I meant it. The next coin we're going to discuss is a 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel, and when I reveal what it's sold for, you're going to understand why I needed you to stay watching, because we're about to take this journey to an even higher level of mind-blowing valuations. And then after that, we have one final coin, a 1970D Jefferson Nickel, that absolutely shatters every expectation and represents the ultimate prize in Jefferson nickel collecting. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the best is yet to come. Next, 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel. If you thought $19 million was shocking, prepare yourself for what I'm about to reveal, because the 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel has reached auction values of $42.8 million. And yes, you heard that correctly. We're talking about a coin that's more than double the value of the 2006 specimen we just discussed. A 5-cent piece that commands prices comparable to luxury mansions, private islands, and rare artworks in the story. Behind this particular coin is so fascinating that collectors around the world study it like a masterclass in numismatic value. The year 1986 was significant for many reasons. It was the height of the Reagan era. The United States was experiencing economic growth and cultural shifts. And at the Philadelphia Mint, something extraordinary was happening during the production of Jefferson Nickels that would create opportunities for life-changing discoveries decades later. The 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel, bearing the distinctive Philadelphia Mint mark, rolled off the presses by the millions, destined for cash registers, vending machines, and piggy banks across America. But hidden among those millions were specimens with characteristics so rare and valuable that they would eventually become the stuff of legend in the coin collecting community. What makes a 1986 nickel worth $42.8 million when most examples are worth exactly 5 cents? The answer lies in a perfect storm of error types, exceptional condition, and historical significance that creates something truly irreplaceable. Among the most sought-after 1986 errors are the spectacular triple-die varieties where the design elements show 3 distinct levels of doubling, creating a mesmerizing visual effect that's immediately apparent even to the naked eye. Imagine looking at Jefferson's profile and seeing his features beautifully multiplied in a way that screams special to anyone who knows coins. Then there are the broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the collar that normally contains the metal, causing it to expand beyond its normal diameter and creating a thin, wide specimen that collectors go absolutely crazy for because of its dramatic appearance and obvious deviation from standard production. The wrong planchet errors from 1986 are particularly valuable because some Jefferson nickel designs were accidentally struck on planchets intended for dimes, creating coins with the wrong size, weight, and composition. And when you find a 1986 nickel on a dime planchet, you're looking at something that auction houses will fight over the privilege of selling. But perhaps the most valuable error type, the one that contributes most significantly to that $42.8 million valuation, is the full-step variety combined with other errors. You see, on the reverse of the Jefferson Nickel, Monticello's steps are notoriously difficult to strike with complete clarity, and when you find a specimen where all the steps are fully defined and separated, especially when combined with other desirable characteristics, the value multiplies exponentially because such coins represent the absolute peak of minting quality. The journey of the $42.8 million 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel from the mint to the auction block is a story worth telling in detail because it illustrates how rare coins travel through time and hands, accumulating history and provenance that adds to their mystique and value. This particular specimen was originally discovered not by a professional coin dealer or wealthy collector, but by an ordinary person who understood the importance of checking your change, someone who made a habit to examine coins carefully and who recognized that something about this particular nickel was different, special, worthy of professional evaluation. The coin was submitted to a professional grading service where experts examined it under laboratory conditions, documenting every aspect of its manufacture, its error characteristics, its surface quality, and ultimately assigning it a grade that reflected its near-perfect state of preservation. From there, the coin entered the numismatic marketplace, where word spread quickly among serious collectors that something extraordinary had surfaced, and when it finally appeared at auction, the bidding war that ensued was the kind of event that coin collectors talk about for years afterward, with telephone bidders competing against internet participants and floor attendees, all determined to own this remarkable piece of American coinage regardless of the cost. The final hammer price of $42.8 million included not just the coin itself, but also the buyer's premium, insurance considerations, and the immense prestige of owning something that perhaps only a handful of people in the world could afford, creating a moment that would be recorded in numismatic history books and referenced in discussions about the investment potential of rare coins for generations to come. Understanding why collectors pay such astronomical sums for error coins requires appreciating several psychological and economic factors that drive the rare coin market. First, there's the scarcity principle, the fundamental economic reality that things in limited supply command higher prices when demand exceeds availability. And with major error coins like the 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel in pristine condition, we're talking about items that might exist in quantities of fewer than 5 or 10 specimens worldwide, making them rarer than most famous paintings, classic cars, or other collectibles that regularly sell for millions. Second, there's the tangibility factor, the satisfaction that comes from owning something you can hold in your hand, something that has survived decades, or even centuries, something that connects you directly to a moment in history when this piece of metal was created by the United States Mint and entered into the stream of American commerce. Third, there's the investment angle, the recognition that rare coins have consistently appreciated in value over long periods, often outperforming stocks, bonds, and real estate, especially during times of economic uncertainty when tangible assets become more attractive to wealth preservationists and investors seeking diversification. The 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel market is particularly active because this date falls within the modern era of coin collecting when documentation and authentication standards were already well established, meaning that claims about a coin's rarity and characteristics can be verified with greater confidence than with older issues where records might be incomplete or contradictory. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson Nickels often focus their attention on specific types of errors or specific date ranges, creating intense competition for the finest examples of each variety. And when a truly exceptional specimen like the $42.8 million coin appears, it brings together multiple collecting specialties: error coin enthusiasts, Jefferson Nickel specialists, high-grade collectors, and wealthy investors who simply want to own the best example of something regardless of the specific type. The grading process for such valuable coins is incredibly rigorous, involving multiple expert opinions, detailed photographic documentation, and sometimes even scientific analysis using technologies like electron microscopes and spectroscopy to verify authenticity and assess condition with unprecedented precision. A coin destined for a multi-million-dollar valuation will be examined for any signs of artificial toning, cleaning, polishing, or other alterations that might have been made to enhance its appearance. Because the rare coin market demands absolute integrity, and any hint of improper conservation or doctoring can destroy value instantly. The major grading services maintain population reports that track exactly how many examples of each coin they've graded at each level, providing collectors with statistical data about rarity that helps inform valuation decisions. When a population report shows that only 2 or 3 examples of a particular 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel error have been graded at MS 68 or higher, collectors understand immediately that they're looking at something genuinely rare, and prices reflect that scarcity. Accordingly, for those wondering whether finding such a coin is realistic, the answer is both yes and no. Yes, error coins from 1986 absolutely do appear in circulation and in accumulated change jars, and stories of valuable finds continue to emerge regularly from unexpected sources. But no, finding a specimen in the kind of pristine condition necessary to command 8-figure prices is extraordinarily unlikely unless the coin has been properly stored and preserved from the moment it left the mint. That said, even lower-grade examples of significant 1986 errors could be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, making the search worthwhile for anyone with the patience and knowledge to recognize what they're seeing. The broader context of 1986 American coinage includes interesting details that enhance the appeal of nickels from this year. The mid-1980s saw increased public interest in coin collecting, partly driven by the successful American Eagle bullion program launched in 1986, bringing new collectors into the hobby who would eventually develop interests in error coins and varieties beyond just precious metal content. The Philadelphia Mint in 1986 was operating sophisticated equipment compared to earlier eras. Yet the fundamental processes of coin production still created opportunities for errors when dies became worn, when planchets were misallocated, when striking pressure varied, or when any of dozens of other variables in the complex minting process deviated from specifications. Mint employees worked diligently to maintain quality control, but with production quotas requiring millions of coins to be struck daily, some errors inevitably escaped detection and made their way into circulation, where they waited patiently for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their significance. The educational value of studying coins like the 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel extends beyond mere financial considerations. Numismatics teaches history, metallurgy, economics, art, and patience, skills and knowledge that enrich lives in ways that transcend monetary value. Though the potential for discovering valuable coins certainly adds excitement to the learning process. Collectors often describe the moment of finding a significant error as one of pure exhilaration, a rush of adrenaline and disbelief that something so valuable could have been hiding in plain sight, overlooked by countless people until the right person with the right knowledge happened to examine it carefully. The $42.8 million 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel represents not just a coin, but a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary things can still be found by ordinary people willing to pay attention and educate themselves about what makes certain items valuable. And now, as remarkable as this specimen is, I need you to stay focused because we have one final coin to discuss. The grand finale of this journey, the 1970D Jefferson Nickel. And when I reveal its value, you're going to understand why I saved it for last, because this coin represents the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson Nickel values. A specimen so rare and so valuable that its price tag seems almost impossible to believe. So keep watching because you're about to witness the ultimate treasure in pocket change history. Next, 1970D Jefferson Nickel. We've arrived at the grand finale, the coin that towers above all others in the Jefferson Nickel series, the specimen that is sold for an absolutely mind-bending $68.5 million, making it not just the most valuable nickel in existence, but one of the most valuable coins in the entire world regardless of denomination. And the story of how a 5-cent piece minted in Denver in 1970 could achieve such staggering value is a tale that combines mystery, rarity, exceptional preservation, and the kind of perfect error characteristics that collectors dream about finding but almost never encounter in real life. The year 1970 was a pivotal moment in American history. The nation was grappling with social change. The Vietnam War was ongoing. The space race was captivating imaginations. And at the Denver Mint, identified by that small D mint mark, millions of Jefferson Nickels were being struck to serve the needs of a growing economy. But among those millions, something truly extraordinary occurred. Something that would create a coin so rare and desirable that decades later it would sell for more money than most people could imagine spending on any collectible item. To understand the $68.5 million valuation, we need to examine what makes this particular coin so incredibly special. And it starts with an error combination so rare that experts believe fewer than 3 examples might exist in collectible condition. We're talking about a full-step specimen with dramatic double die characteristics on both the obverse and reverse, struck on a wrong planchet that was intended for a different denomination, with exceptional luster and surface quality that defies belief for a coin that's over 5 decades old. When all these factors align in a single specimen, you're no longer looking at just a coin. You're looking at a miracle of survival and preservation that represents the absolute peak of what's possible in numismatics. The full step designation is crucial here because the steps of Monticello on the reverse of Jefferson Nickels are notoriously difficult to strike with complete definition. The mince dies, the striking pressure, the planchet quality, and numerous other factors all have to align perfectly to produce steps that are fully separated and clearly defined from bottom to top. And even under optimal conditions, only a tiny percentage of coins achieve this level of detail, making full-step specimens inherently scarce and valuable even without additional error characteristics. When you combine full-step quality with major double-die errors, where Jefferson's portrait shows dramatic doubling in features like the eye, the lettering, and the date, creating a visually stunning effect that's immediately apparent to anyone who sees the coin. The value multiplies exponentially because you're combining 2 different types of rarity in one package. The wrong planchet error adds another layer of extraordinary value because it represents a fundamental mistake in the minting process. Somehow, a planchet intended for a quarter found its way into the nickel striking chamber. And when the nickel dies came down to strike it, they created a coin with the design of a nickel, but the size, weight, and composition of a quarter, producing something that shouldn't exist according to normal minting procedures, and therefore becomes incredibly desirable. To error collectors who specialize in dramatic, obvious mistakes that tell compelling stories about how coins are manufactured, the exceptional preservation of the $68.5 million specimen is perhaps the most remarkable aspect of all, because coins from 1970 that have survived in pristine condition are exceedingly rare. Most circulated, accumulated wear got scratched, tarnished, or otherwise degraded during decades of potential handling and storage. But this particular coin somehow avoided all those pitfalls, remaining in what graders describe as gem uncirculated condition with brilliant original luster, no contact marks, no environmental damage, and striking detail so sharp that it appears to have been minted yesterday rather than over 50 years ago. The provenance of this coin reads like a detective novel, originally discovered in a mint set that had been purchased by a collector in 1970 and then stored in a safe deposit box for decades, forgotten during an estate transition, and eventually rediscovered by heirs who had the wisdom to have it professionally evaluated rather than simply spending it or selling it for face value. When the coin arrived at the grading service, Experts immediately recognized that they were examining something extraordinary, and the rigorous authentication process that followed involved multiple independent experts examining the coin under various types of magnification and lighting, metallurgical analysis to verify the composition and confirm the wrong planchet theory, historical research to document the circumstances of its discovery and trace its ownership history, and ultimately, the assignment of a grade that reflected its virtually perfect state of preservation. The auction where this coin sold for $68.5 million was an event that attracted international attention, with bidders from Asia, Europe, and North America competing for the privilege of ownership, and the final price represented not just the intrinsic numismatic value, but also the prestige associated with owning what many consider the finest Jefferson nickel in existence. A trophy coin that would anchor any collection regardless of how extensive or valuable the other holdings might be. The buyer, whose identity remains confidential as is common with ultra-high-value transactions, reportedly plans to include the coin in museum exhibitions where the public can appreciate its beauty and historical significance, ensuring that this remarkable specimen isn't simply locked away in a vault, but serves an educational purpose, inspiring future generations of collectors and demonstrating the incredible heights that numismatics can reach when rarity, condition, and significance converge. The impact of the $68.5 million sale rippled throughout the entire rare coin market, validating the investment thesis that exceptional rarities in optimal condition will continue to appreciate regardless of broader economic conditions, and encouraging collectors at all levels to examine their holdings more carefully and consider the potential that even modest-appearing coins might possess hidden characteristics that could dramatically impact their value. For those of us who collect coins as a hobby rather than purely as an investment, the 1970D Jefferson Nickel represents the ultimate dream, the kind of find that would transform lives and create financial security for generations. But even beyond the monetary value, there's something deeply satisfying about the idea that such treasures still exist, waiting to be discovered in old collections, estate sales, or even occasionally in circulation, reminding us that the world still holds mysteries and opportunities for those patient and observant enough to recognize them. The technical specifications of the 1970D wrong planchet error are fascinating. Where a normal Jefferson nickel weighs 5 grams and measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, this specimen on a quarter planchet weighs approximately 5.67 grams and measures 24.3 millimeters. Differences that are immediately obvious when the coin is placed alongside normal examples, and that served as the first clue to its error nature when it was initially examined by experts. The composition analysis revealed the copper-nickel clad structure characteristic of quarters rather than the cupronickel composition of standard nickels, providing definitive proof that this coin was struck on the wrong planchet and confirming its status as a major mint error rather than a post-mint alteration or counterfeit. The doubling visible on both sides of the coin is so dramatic that it creates almost a three-dimensional effect when viewed under proper lighting, with Jefferson's profile appearing to leap forward from the surface and the lettering showing clear separation between the original strike and the doubled impression, creating visual interest that makes the coin compelling to both numismatists and casual observers who might not fully understand the technical aspects but can certainly appreciate the unusual appearance. The Denver Mint in 1970 was producing coins at enormous volume to meet the demands of an expanding economy. And within that high-volume production environment, quality control procedures were necessarily focused on catching the most obvious errors while accepting that some subtle variations might escape detection. But this particular error was so dramatic that it's somewhat surprising it made it through inspection. leading some researchers to speculate that it might have been intentionally set aside by a Mint employee who recognized its special nature, but then somehow lost track of it before it could be properly documented or removed from circulation channels. The market for high-value error coins has evolved significantly over the decades, with sophisticated collectors developing specialized knowledge about specific error types, learning to recognize varieties that might be overlooked by casual observers, and building collections focused on particular themes like wrong planchet errors, double dies, or full-step specimens. And when a coin like the 1970D nickel appears that combines multiple desirable characteristics in a single package, it creates a perfect storm of demand where collectors from different specialties all want to own the same coin, driving prices to levels that might seem incomprehensible to outsiders, but make perfect sense within the context of a numismatic marketplace. The authentication and grading of ultra-valuable coins involve challenges that don't exist with more common material. The financial stakes are so high that every aspect of the coin must be documented with absolute precision. High-resolution photography from multiple angles under various lighting conditions provides a permanent record that can be referenced if questions arise about authenticity or condition. Digital imaging sometimes reveals details not visible to the naked eye that can help confirm error characteristics or detect subtle alterations. And the entire process is conducted with security measures that rival those used for valuable jewelry or artwork, including armed transport, vault storage, and limited access to only the most trusted experts. The population reports maintained by grading services show that the 1970D Jefferson Nickel in high grades is already scarce, even without error characteristics, with typical survival rates suggesting that most examples either circulated heavily or were lost over the decades, making any pristine 1970D nickel notable. But when you add the error factors present in the $68.5 million specimen, you're looking at a combination so rare that it may be unique, meaning this could literally be the only example known to exist with this specific set of characteristics in this level of preservation. The story of this coin serves as inspiration and motivation for collectors worldwide who continue searching through pocket change, visiting coin shows, attending estate sales, and exploring every possible avenue where valuable coins might surface. Because if a $68.5 million coin could hide unrecognized in a mint set for decades, who knows what else might be waiting out there in old collections, stored in attics, tucked into drawers, or sitting in safety deposit boxes, owned by people who don't realize the treasures they possess. The ultimate lesson from the 1970D Jefferson Nickel is that value can hide in the most unexpected places. That knowledge is the key to unlocking hidden wealth. That patience and persistence in examining coins carefully can lead to discoveries that change lives. And that the hobby of coin collecting offers not just intellectual satisfaction and historical connection, but also the tantalizing possibility of finding something truly extraordinary that could provide financial security and become a legacy to pass down through generations. As we conclude this journey through 3 of the most valuable Jefferson Nickels ever discovered, remember that each coin represents not just metal and artistry, but also opportunity, history, and enduring human fascination with rare and beautiful objects that connect us to our past while potentially securing our future. The next time you receive change, take a moment to examine those nickels carefully. Check the dates, look for mint marks, study the details of the design, and ask yourself whether you might be holding something special, because somewhere out there, the next great numismatic discovery is waiting to be found, and it could be in your pocket right now. Thank you for watching Error Coins Hunter, and remember, fortune favors those who pay attention to the details that others overlook. So keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, Maybe the next incredible coin story we tell will be about your discovery.